Extraordinary teams have great team chemistry. Okay, you guys didn't pay attention in physics class. Did anybody pay attention in chemistry lab? You tried? What's that? What's chemistry about? Like if you were to explain it to your niece, your nephew, a 4-year-old, what's chemistry about?
Mixing of chemicals.
That's right, mixing of chemicals. Give me something else. Give me more. Building blocks. Okay, give me more. How things react. What do you mean?
I don't know, that's the only word.
That's the word that came to mind. Fair. No, that's great. Yeah. See, I'm a simple guy. See if this works for you. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, oxygen. Yes. I'm a simple dude. Let's see if this works for you. Chemistry, and it may be an oversimplification, but chemistry is really about bonds. Is that what you meant by oxygen? I know if I gave you a little bit more time, that's where it was going. Yeah. Chemistry is about bonds. What's chemistry about? Bonds. It's not about the individual elements. It's about how well they, right? You can have a room full, a team full of great elements, but if they don't have great chemistry, if they don't bond well, you got a mess. Right? Extraordinary teams have great chemistry. So I wanted to understand how this chemistry thing works. So I'm fortunate. I've got some really cool friends. One of my friends is a guy named Jim Caldwell. He's the head coach of the Detroit Lions, the NFL team. Years ago, he was with the Indianapolis Colts when they won the Super Bowl. So I got a chance to talk to him after, congratulate him on winning the Super Bowl. That's a pretty big deal. So, Coach, congratulations. Like, why was this team better than last year's team, which the roster was pretty much the same guys on the team, but this year they won it? He goes, Lee, the team just had great chemistry this year. Interesting, Coach. I've been working on that idea. What do you mean? He goes, well, just over time, just the team just like organically comes together, right? They mesh. Okay. I said, well, did you guys do anything to sort of manipulate that? Or, how do you create chemistry? He goes, I don't know if we necessarily did anything, but here's what I do notice. We had some really rough experiences last year. Some season-ending injuries to some of our players. One of our coaches' family member passed away or was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I don't remember exactly where it was on the timeline, but there were some really rough experiences that brought the team closer together, like oxygen. I'm trying to integrate. I'm trying to figure out a way to integrate it. But the negative experiences help accelerate the meshing, the bonding process. When negative things happen to us, it often brings the team together. And we see that, right? In life, things happen to our country. Like hopefully it brings the team together. Okay, so kind of put that idea in my back pocket. I went to my local high school and talked to the chemistry teacher. Like, I really want to make sure that my stuff is fundamentally and theoretically sound. So I talked to the teacher and said, Teach, tell me about chemistry. She said, Lee, it's about bonds. It's about how things act and react with one another. She goes, there's ionic and covalent bonds, the sharing or the exchange of electrons. Remember that? Here's what she said, though, that kind of blew me away. Please hear me. Please hear me. She said, Lee, most bonds are formed under heat and pressure. Most bonds are formed under heat and pressure. Say it with me. Most bonds are formed under heat and pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share this with you. The same stuff that tear most teams apart is the same exact stuff that bring extraordinary teams together. Bless you. Heat and the stuff that tears some teams apart, some families apart, some relationships apart. Heat and pressure, it's the same exact stuff that brings extraordinary teams. Let me explain why. And you've heard it a million times. Life is 10% of what happens to you, heat and pressure, and then 90% of how you respond to it. There will be heat and pressure. How we respond to it will determine whether or not we fall apart or actually become stronger and better. Here's what I've learned. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with your experience. It has nothing to do with your education. It has nothing to do with your degrees. It has nothing to do with your length of service. Let me tell you what it has to do with. Maturity. Maturity. Not in age, because you can be an old fool. Yeah, it has nothing to do with how old you are or how long you've been in this business. Is, do you understand as a mature individual that there will be heat and if you flip out and whine and cry and quit, it's not the most mature response. But if you leverage that same crap, all the changes that go on, all the things that are happening in the market and in the company, all the things that are happening in your swirling in your personal life, if you can handle that with maturity and use it, the bonds get even stronger. It's all about how you approach it. Heat and pressure here, which is inevitable. And do we have the maturity to handle it in a way that brings us closer together? Let me tell you what happens on most teams when they face heat and pressure. Most teams. They start pointing fingers. They start playing the blame game. They start getting territorial and protecting their turf. They start whispering and complaining at the water cooler or via text or whatever means of communication you decide to use. But they start, I don't know why I don't know what they're doing. This sucks. I should have left. I should have gone. I should have stayed. It's not how we build stronger bonds. Mature people understand that there will be heat and pressure. In fact, if there's no heat and pressure, I'm not sure if we can be as strong as we need to be. Let me say that again. If there's not heat and pressure, I'm not sure if we'll ever be as strong as we need to be. In fact, the extraordinary teams, when there's not normal, natural heat and pressure, they manufacture it on their own because they understand the value of heat and pressure. It's time for us to take it up a notch. If the market's not doing it for us, we'll do it ourselves because we're not as good as we could be without a certain level of heat and pressure. Anybody know what a welder does? Please don't say welds. I get that answer sometimes. Yeah, to what kinds of things? Metals, heavy metals, right? And what do they use? You started alluding to it. What else? Isn't that interesting? Heat and why does a welder weld heavy metals? To make them stronger in order to... You're guessing? No, don't tease it. In order to support heavier weight, right? You take two strong things, you weld them together because at some point they're going to need to support something heavier. What would happen if the weight of whatever it is they're supporting came down and they weren't welded? The whole thing collapses. The whole thing crumbles. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way to strengthen certain things, especially strong things, is with heat and when it doesn't happen naturally, extraordinary teams invite it. I get asked often, hey Lee, could you come in and do a team building session? And my question to them is, I'd be happy to, as long as I can put your team under heat and... Because, listen, if all we're doing is sitting around singing Kumbaya, we're not getting any stronger. I need to see how you react under heat, and that's the only way I find out who you really are and whether or not the chemistry is going to work. Because everyone is wonderful when everything is wonderful. That's not who you really are. I need to see how you react under heat and